Hi class, I'm going to do my three world presentation on Matthew chapter 9 verse 20 to 22. So I'm going to start off with the literary world. In Matthew chapter 9 verse 20 to 22, it talks about a woman who was suffering from hemorrhage for 12 years. The woman goes behind Jesus and says to herself, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be made well." This woman is probably feeling embarrassed and ashamed to ask Jesus for healing, but instead proceeds to touch his cloak. The woman touches Jesus' cloak, and then Jesus turns and sees her and says, "Take heart, daughter, your faith has made you well." Her faith healed her issue with the bleeding. As soon as the woman touches Jesus, her bleeding stops, and she knows she's been healed. The true miracle in this story is what remained healthy, her faith. Her willingness to believe she could be well again, despite all evidence to the contrary. Without a word, a look, or a touch from Jesus, she was made whole simply by believing he could heal her and daring to act on that belief by touching his cloak. With her faith was rewarded, she wasn't the only one who noticed. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" Mark chapter 5:30. She risked everything, public humiliation, if not punishment, to make her confession of faith, explaining to the crowd why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. In these scriptures, we see Jesus' compassion and power for the ones who seeks him. The point of this text shows the faith in Matthew chapter 9 verse 2 and Matthew chapter 9 verse 27 through 29 focus on other similar situations in regards to the faith these people had that healed them. The historical world. The Judean law's point of view, a woman who is bleeding or on her menstrual cycle is considered unclean and impure. According to the Bible, a woman is impure for 7 days from the beginning of her menstrual flow. Leviticus chapter 12, verse 2, and chapter 15, verse 19. Anyone who touches a menstruous woman becomes unclean until evening. Leviticus chapter 15, verse 19. Whoever touches her bed or anything she sits on during that week is unclean until evening and must wash his clothes and bathe with water. Verses 20 to 23. We also know that Jewish laws declare her to be ceremonially unclean due to her bleeding issue. Leviticus chapter 15, verse 25 through 27. This meant that she would not have been permitted to enter the temple for Jewish religious ceremonies. According to the law, anything or anyone she touched became unclean as well. The fact that she was in the crowd pressing around Jesus means that each person who bumped into her would have become unclean too, including Jesus. The woman did not make Jesus unclean. He made her clean. The contemporary world, as Christians, our faith and beliefs continue in our present day, regardless of our culture or religious background. In this 21st century, women who have menstrual cycles here in the western part of the country can live a life without fear of being embarrassed by incidents or a sudden religious inspiring a separation. Although, if you are a Jew, the laws still continue the same for a woman in her menstrual cycle. The woman's faith did not move God. Faith does not move God. God, it moves us. Jesus had already demonstrated over and over that he would heal all. He demonstrated over and over that he was both willing and able to heal all. Faith is not something that you do not, but something that you believe in. Jesus will do. In Hebrews chapter 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Every day we place our trust in something. We trust our cars to get us our destination of the day. We trust our employers to pay us every week. We trust our doctors to heal our illnesses. So why it is so difficult to trust God? Trusting God means that we believe blindly in that which we cannot see and what we may not understand. That means that we have to submit ourselves to God and admit that we are not in control of our lives. due to our human nature and our past. Bad experiences with people and situations that have led people wronging us. We often find it hard to trust anyone. That includes placing our trust in God. When life does not make any sense, we need to trust God. The more sensitive life gets, the greater our need to trust in God. It is interesting to me that this woman believed that Jesus would heal her bleeding after that she bleeding and she was bleeding for 12 years. It was easy to lose hope, yet her faith in Jesus was all it took to be healed. Thank you, class.